All right, welcome to the 54th meeting of the Junto Club, where we were inspired by the original Junto Club founded by Benjamin Franklin around 300 years ago to discuss topics including science, business, politics, philosophy, anything that makes interested us to kind of explore and improve ourselves in a way. So with me today, we two PhDs, Dr. Matthew O'Brien and Michael Pedonati, and so I need expertise in I mean, I'm just trying saying, we are in good company. So today's topic is the main topic is the Tao of Charlie Munger. So basically, just I think we talked about Charlie Munger before, but this is just a little bit more a recap of Charlie Munger's weight and wisdom because he just passed away like a few months ago, right before he hit 100 years old. So, and I mean he's a billionaire, of course. So we're talking. So I think he has some good lessons and wisdom that we can hopefully learn from. And he also has our interesting quotes too that we can go through. And however, before we go there, we always start with a intro quote. And today's quote is the oldest, shortest words, yes and no, are those which require the most thought. End quote. By Pythagoras. Is it Pythagoras or Pythagoras? I think it's Pythagoras. Anyway, the guy who invented the Pythagorean theorem. So everybody should know. uh, any thoughts on this one?
No,
Pretty obvious.
kidding.
Oh, I got it now. It took me a while.
Took you a second. Uh, uh, I think my first instinct is like, that's not necessarily true.
Mhm.
You can come up with situations that doesn't make, but if you're trying to like think about it in a, not try to be confrontational with the quote, one way you could interpret it is that, um, just saying yes or no is a kind of expressing certainty. And, you should have a lot of thought. You should be careful before you say things for certain, right? That's kind of where my mind went. In general, it's hard to be certain of anything. Um,
Mhm.
I'm usually someone who's like, if I'm super confident, I'll say I'm like 98% confident, but I never want to say guarantee.
Mhm.
So my thought is, yeah, if you're going to give a declarative answer, yes or no, you should make sure you're very much, I guess 100% on that, which should take some thought in many cases.
Yeah.
What about you,
Yeah,
Mike?
I basically agree. I mean, I was thinking more like I guess more in the realm of time, but a very similar type of thing. Like if you're saying yes to do something or no, like you're not going to do something, that's like deciding how to spend your time. So, and time is basically the most valuable thing. So,
Mm,
Yeah. Anyway, so well, I think this quote is very. I would say it's not complex. It's pretty straightforward. One of the reason I like it, just again, it's kind of a reminder to ourselves, right? And then how to make actually like yes or no. Yeah, the answer is very easy, right? Just yes or no. But then the reasoning behind it that is extremely complex. Depends on the decision that you are making. Of course, it's easy to say, oh, okay, I got invitation to this party. Should I go? Yes or no, right? It based on the time, right? And just you can just say, okay, do I feel like I'm going? Am I wasting time? Do I like to go? And then you can do a deeper analysis. Well, okay, I have other things that uh, look at alternatives, right? Like regarding so stuff like that. But and of course, there's a more important decision, like do you want to marry this person or something like that, right? So, or do you want to take this job offer and stuff like that? So, it's more like a reminder to myself to in a way to put thought into two decisions, and then sometimes if people ask you yes or no, like ask you a question right away, you can always say need some time to think about it instead of giving it a yes or no, because a lot of times the people just kind of in the moment just keep sometimes they in a way because they benefit from the answer, right? So sometimes they want to force you to make a decision in an instant. So also I like Pythagoras, so I never really I mean it's a Pythagoras theorem, so I never see a quote from him before. So okay, this is cool. So maybe we talk about Pythagoras one time. Do anybody know about Pythagoras besides the Pythagoras theorem?
Not really.
Okay.
I assume he did other things.
Okay.
That could be a topic.
Was he Egyptian or something else? Something to do with pyramids, I think. I don't know. Anyway, let's go to one of the mini topics.
I was just about to say I assume just like all great mathematicians who like came up with something great, he probably came up with like 80 million mathematical things that are in use. But like if you're a mathematician before before 1900, you probably have like a million things that are important. So
I guess my mini topic is I want to recommend a podcast. It's called Founders Podcast. Have you guys heard on this one before?
No.
Okay, so this podcast is kind of interesting. I actually have been binging on this podcast for a while, and so basically just a guy. David. He read like biographies, like entrepreneurs, mostly like founders of companies, business. So that's why it's called Founders. He go through those biography each episode, and then just read a book, and he just kind of in a way it's more like take out what he likes, and then just like read a section of it, and then kind of also input some of his opinions too, and I just take out some stuff. And yeah, so I've been enjoying this podcast a lot because it's quite interesting. It's also one thing I found surprising is that I just never thought like this kind of format would be interesting, but somehow he make it. He really done it. It's really well done. That just one person just talking like almost like to the void, and then and make the book actually interesting. Yeah, so highly recommend it. Of course you can always pick like what are interesting, right? So one thing I guess I've learned from it by doing it is how I do like books, right? 'Cause I used to try to, for example, I read a book, I try to kind of summarize it, paraphrase it, right? So recently I actually take away, it's good for me just read like extras from the books. So actually that make it more interesting to people, and then make it easier on me too, because I'm very bad at explaining stuff. So that's one thing I take away. And the other way is that actually biographies are very interesting. Like reading these biographies, especially like because I never really got. I know reading is important. I just never really got interested in like reading biographies. That's okay. Just people lives, right? I don't want to go through it, you know. But then
that's how I feel.
Yeah. But actually, this is a good like almost like gateway drugs for you to get into biographies. So especially in the founders, like especially in like I'll say not like memoirs, more like people are still alive. Like especially like people in like older generations where like a lot of people wrote their books like right before they die, so they don't really care anymore. So those are books that are good to go through. So yeah. So one other book I got into was like called Fortune's Tale. It actually talk about there's many characters in there. It talk about one of them is talk about Klaus Shannon and Ed Thorpe. So basically, they used to do a lot of like go to casino to test out their actually interesting gadgets to predict odds and stuff. So I found that very interesting because I actually don't know anything about Klaus Shannon and Ethel, and then also Klaus Shannon is fundamentally the father of information theory, right, which underlies everything we do right now. So as I was reading more about
he's Shannon's theorem, Shannon.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know the first name of that guy.
Klaus Shannon, yeah. Shannon theory. So information theory, actually, this is gonna be a separate topic, but I just want to go through here a little bit. So one thing I learned as I was reading about Klaus Shannon and information theory, actually everything like is language, right? Like language, like how do you transmit information through like ones and zeros? So that actually is the foundation of the computer age, right? So that's his main contribution, which is fundamental to what do you call it, modern society. Actually, it's computer and stuff. So actually, originally he tried to make it like he tried to call it different names, and then one of them actually is called intelligent theory, because all those information stuff, is basically that's what kind of intelligent is in a way. So, but I gotta go more detail in the future to discuss how that come about. But so it's kind of interesting because right now we talk about AI. Like, I mean, right now everybody's like AI is kind of blow up, and how basically ChatGPT is all about information, it's language, right? So then if you go back and read Klaus Schwann's information theory, I think actually that will be very informative to your understanding of foundation of the ChatGPT, all these like learning stuff. So yeah. So yeah, so he was basically tackling how to what's information, how information should be concisely represented in a 1 and 0, but in the end, like, how do you represent language, right? Like information in a way. Intelligent is basically, in a way, is my almost like information that if you kind of, it's related to language in a way, right? So that's why ChatGPT, everybody say, oh, this is AI almost, and then for people extrapolate it to, okay, it's AGI is coming, artificial general intelligence is coming soon, because actually this robot can talk, but it's not exactly right there, right? But anyway, so, and then Ethel is also another interesting person too. So then I'm gonna go into more detail in the future. So yeah, no, so that's why I highly recommend this book. Also, another thing actually I recently listened to is called also made me think about other stuff is he did a episode on Empire of Light. Basically talk about back in the day how technology, like how light, when Edison invented light bulbs, right? But there's actually the war is more between, I mean the book is more about the war between AC and DC.
Yeah.
Right. So how can it so that kind of made me think about, okay, all this stuff, like if you want to understand like modern technology impact in the try to see into the future, maybe it's a good idea to go back to see how back in the day how technology were being perceived and how that being adopted and how that impact the rest of the society in the world, basically, right? So so then that kind of made me so I got sidetracked by that, and then I tried to read Intel Trinity, basically talk about the semiconductor, the Intel, the founders like Gordon Moore and Andy Grove, and also Robert Noyce, right? So the three founders. I mean, technically Andy Grove is not a founder, right? So, but anyways, the Intel Trinity talk about how they start the company and how the technology change over time, stuff like that. So I kind of get me into that rabbit hole. I'll try to, okay, sometimes to understand the technology is actually, instead of just reading about book on that specific technology, it's good to just read and understand the people behind it. I kind of made that story a little bit interesting for me, and least personally, and I can see how they adapt to when they building the struggle they go through and stuff like that. So right, and then kind of made me think about, okay, well, what other technology we can like changing technology that in the day that I can actually go back and read about, which is of course like with steam engine, right, and then railroad maybe too, right? We call it technology, right?
Is the
And then
printing press too old for you?
yeah, what?
I said, is the printing press too old?
No, it's
That's
not.
pretty world-changing technology.
Yeah. Then that's how Benjamin got started, right? It's a printing press. So
That's true.
yeah, no. I think but yeah, I think sometimes it's good to know, not go too far back for me, at least for right now, right? So there's plenty of modern like semiconductor is definitely very interesting, because especially where GPU is blowing up, AI blowing up, and the foundation of that is the semiconductor industry, which actually fundamentally is enabled by Shannon's information theory again, is basically the 1 and zeros, right? Yeah. So yeah, just interested to see how those uh affects and study those, and then basically anyway, all those thoughts that I'm thinking about is all originated from because I was listening to Founders podcast. So check it out if you anyway, definitely check it out. Enough say.
All right.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Founders Podcast now.
Yeah, I just feel like I learned so much from him, so I feel like people just should check it out. So
That's a good recommendation.
We should see if you can be a guest on their podcast show to pump our
No.
numbers.
No. He doesn't interview people. I say he just talk about books that he read.
Okay.
Yeah.
He copied our shtick.
Actually,
we're the first people to do this. Obviously.
Yeah, actually, another reason I like I want to recommend his podcast because he did an episode on Benjamin Franklin, just by autobiography, and then when he came to the idea of Junto Club, he was like, "Oh, then I should have named my podcast like Junto Club."
Did he actually say that?
Yeah, he actually say that.
That's funny.
I should name my podcast like Junto Club instead of like Founders if he can if he have known about that before he started a podcast. So
this is a kindred spirit of shoes.
Yeah, when you start this, I was like, this guy sounds like he's doing what Shu wants to do anyway. So yeah, this you and him.
Yeah, but I don't think I can do it by myself. So it's good to have a like two other person like you guys to double check my thoughts, thinking, and then just bouncing back there and still make it not as boring,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would also be concerned about just rambling by myself and be like, am I saying stupid shit? It's definitely good to have other people to be like, hey, wait a second.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, just to break the monotone of stuff. So
yeah.
All right. Any thoughts, comments? All right. Well, I guess let's get into the main topic, the book then. So the book is a Tao of Charlie Munger. Anyway, so okay. All right, following Founders podcast format, so I'm gonna read excerpts from the book now.
Oh, okay. We've never done this.
All
is
right,
new.
just
I
to
like
intro. To intro, I think we talked about Charlie Munger before, but I think to get started. So in the chronicles of American financial history, Charlie Munger will be seen as the proverbial enigma wrapped in a paradox. He's both a mystery and a contradiction at the same time. Warren Buffett say Charlie Munger's most important architectural feat was the design of today's Berkshire. The blueprint he gave me was simple. Forget what you know about buying fair business and wonderful prices. Instead, buy wonderful business and fair prices. And fair prices. So how is it that Charlie, who trained as a meteorologist and a lawyer and never took a single college course in economics, marketing, finance, and accounting, became one of the greatest business and investing genius of the 20th and 21st century? Charlie was born in Omaha, Nebraska on January 1st, 1924. One of Charlie's first jobs was working at Warren Buffett's grandfather's Buffett neighborhood grocery store, actually. And this is something I actually find, even though Charlie worked in Warren grandfather's store, actually they never met until maybe in their 30s. So because Charlie was 7 years older than Warren Buffett, so. But either way, Charlie was introduced to the world of business and Buffett's grocery store. He learned about inventory, stocking, shelving, pleasing customers, the importance of showing up on time for work, how to get along with others, while accomplish a joint task, and of course, running a cash register where money, the lifeblood of the business, flow. So after Charlie moved back to Los Angeles, Charlie went to law school. So after he went back, after he done with that, he basically went to Los Angeles and joined a law firm. But Then here he decided that each day he would devote 1 hour of his life, his time in office to work on his real estate projects, basically investing. By doing so, he completely fine. And he has said that the first $1 million he put together was hardest money he ever earned. Anyway, so I was saying that's just a quick intro to Charlie Munger, right? Did you find anything that you don't know about interesting that you want to comment on?
I've
So,
heard.
oh,
Oh, you
go.
can go, Mike.
Yeah, no, I guess I was just, yeah, I guess it was interesting to know that he sort of worked at, I had never heard he had worked at like Warren Buffett's family's
Yeah,
store.
yeah.
So, and that was, yeah, so that to me, I guess, like, I mean, was interesting just that there was that
Mm-hmm.
connection in the past, and even though it didn't materialize till like later. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so.
All right. So cool. All right. Let's just in brief intro, and then let's get into the. So the book basically actually is a very quick, easy read. It basically just have a each chapter is probably like 130 chapters. You call it chapter more like just one page, right? So you have a quote by Charlie, and then the author going explaining something. So it's a very quick read, and it's also the book bedtime reading too. You can just like open it and get into a just read a page and then go to sleep. So it's very easy. Anyway, so I'm breaking it down actually into 3 sections today. So first section is investing in business. So he's quotes on that one, and then the next one is kind of a little bit life advice, and then third one is kind of world economy in a way, just some his general thoughts on. So I'm not sure how much we're gonna go to each one, but to start, that's why we're here. We try to make money, so investing. So, uh, so so first one I want to talk about diversification. You guys all heard about diversification, right? When you do investing, right?
Hmm.
Index fund, all this stuff. So diversify your investments, right? You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, right? So what's your thought on that, on diversification?
Yeah, it's probably a good idea unless you have something that's basically a sure thing. If you have something that's a sure thing, go all in on it, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
if you, but yeah, if you're just like, I mean, I guess this was mentioned before the podcast,
Yep.
but
Mm-hmm.
it was sort of talking about boom and bust type cycles, which is pretty much ubiquitous through nature and the economy and everything else. So it's like like even good businesses are going to go through downturns, and other businesses may be on the upswing at that point. So if you
Mm-hmm.
want sort of consistent like growth just sort of with the economy, it's good to not put all your eggs in one basket. So,
Okay.
That's what I was thinking. I was gonna say if you just kind of maximize the diversity is good sort of thing, you get these like massive ETFs that basically track the whole market, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like if the market goes up, does well, you do well, which historically has done well. So, it's a safe way to get, regular returns.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing usually.
Mm-hmm.
You won't get your I I bought Bitcoin for $10 and now it's worth 10 million scenarios, but
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah. Diversification. So one thing, actually, I want to start with this one because I think this might be the most important thing I learned from this book. Because I always thought, I know we talked about diversification before, like, so I mean, some of the stuff that we're talking about today might be repetitive, but I say diversification is very. I always thought like, okay, diversification, be diverse is good. You want diversity investment. But I guess in the book is like, anyway, let's go to his quote. His quote is, this worshipping an altar of diversification. I think that is really crazy. So so he basically is not a believer in diversification because as Matt, you are pointing out, you can get regular returns. Like if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know investing, yeah, get index fund. That's what Warren Buffett always recommend when you asking for investing advice, right?
Mhm.
It's good for red if you want average return, right? But if you want to actually you want to get rich, basically. You should get good extraordinary above regular returns. You need to put all basket in a basket, in all eggs in a basket, right? So now what Mike was saying earlier, if you know a sure thing, you put all your eggs in that basket, and then what you do is you watch that basket. Right? I think that's a quote from probably Andrew Carnegie, right? Long time ago, the railroad anyway guy. So
So I think we've talked about this idea before, and I think he's right, but kind of leaves out an important thing because yeah, you're not gonna ever be rich playing it safe, right? Like
yeah.
unless something stupid, a long lost great uncle you never knew about, dies and gives you money, right? Something stupid like that, right? In general, you have to take a risk to sort of win. If we're talking about winning is making the big money, but not everyone and not even the majority of people will be able to do that, right? Like not everyone can put their eggs in the same basket because if everyone was doing that, like buying a stock, the price of that stock would go up. So the returns you'd get from it anyway would go away.
Yeah.
So inherently that means people will have different baskets and they're not all going to succeed. So it's sort of like, yes, this is the only way you can get rich, but statistically, most of the people who do this won't get rich and often will be worse off than if they would have. So it's sort of like expected versus potential earnings, So, it's a little bit about what you can tolerate and what your goals are, right? Like so I feel like that's just an important thing, right? It's like the difference between anyone can do something and everyone can do something, right? Like those aren't the same thing.
Yeah.
I won't talk anymore.
Yeah, I would say yeah. So I guess the main thing that I like this one, as I said before, is because I always thought just like almost in a way like blindly kind of think, okay, just diversify, right? But but yeah, so just just a more like a different perspective of what I understood as like a convention wisdom in a way. But yeah. Anyway, but how do you do that? Of course, it's very hard. Like it's very hard for for us to get to find a find the right basket. Really.
Yeah.
It's super hard. That's why we do that. Yeah.
And there's different levels to it, right? Because you can get like a ETF for like an industry. If you're really confident some industry is going to boom, but you don't want to bet on like which company specifically is going to like win in the market, right? So you can have like within an industry diversify, but you're not diversified with respect to like the more broad market, right? So there's different ways you can approach it to sort of, mitigate the extremes, I guess.
Yeah. Next, related to the diversification of people in workplaces. What's your thoughts on that one?
Is this like you're talking about like skill specialization?
No. I'm just.
Oh, you're talking about DEI or whatever?
Yeah. Anyway, so I don't want to get sidetracked on that controversial issue.
I mean, as someone who did his PhD on conflict, I can say there's been a lot of research that shows a moderate amount of conflict is what you want, or like a moderate amount of diversification in ideas is what you want.
But yeah, conflict inherent is good. Yeah, I read that before too. Anyway, let's not get sidetracked by that. And unless you guys have any further comments.
No, I mean, I basically think, yeah, I mean, you're making like I agree with everything that's been said basically thus far. That yeah, basically I'm not super rich and cannot invest a super amount of money in a sure thing, so I keep my 401k diverse and so.
This podcast needs a greater diversity of views.
Yeah.
Well, but you are diversifying. You kind of putting like for your job, right? In the job you pick, you kind of put all your basket in your egg in that basket, right? It's kind of in a way your time, right? You can think about your time too, right? Yeah.
That is true. That is an interesting way to think of it. But at the same time, a regular job is sort of like I mean, with a regular job, most people trade away a lot of risk for stability, right?
Yeah.
Like if your company booms, you don't get generally, I mean, sometimes there's like bonuses, but generally like you don't get like a huge gain, right? Startups sometimes do this sort of stock stuff, right? Where they give and do try to tie that. But like your average Joe's job, they're not that impacted by how well the company does unless it does so poorly that they need to lay them off. So this
Hmm.
is sort of a trade-off. So they're not diverse, but they're buffered from the risk, both the ups, the rewards, and the losses, right? So the company
Hmm.
sort of takes on that risk with the hope that on average they will be better off, and they can sustain sort of through the bad times to sort of reap the on average rewards, and then people generally want stability for themselves, because it's their
Yeah.
livelihood. So
Hmm. Sounds good. Actually, I do have two questions. One, actually, let's talk about it a little bit. How do you have any suggestions on how to find that basket? Any thoughts on that? Like, so you can put all your eggs in there.
so this is something you told me once. I don't
Mm.
remember what book you got it from or if it was your own, but you said like find something like
Mm.
an area or topic or something well, and
Mm.
then look into like investing in that area because you will be able to, you'll be able to do a much better job judging if this is a good idea, basically.
Yeah.
So, if I was trying to invest in movie studios or restaurants or something, I don't know anything about those
Yeah.
things, so
Hmm.
I would do a terrible job. But maybe I could do a lot better job of looking at a robotics company and saying, like, is this technology like actually feasible? Do they have something that's going to work? Is this
Hmm.
something that's going to actually be like people will like? I
Hmm.
have more experience related to that, so I could do a better judge, and that might help me make,
Yeah.
a better decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
No. I was just gonna say, I think that was literally from early in the podcast when she was talking about Charlie Munger and
Was that
like,
it?
yeah.
Well, that could make sense. We're
was it?
recycling the topic.
Yeah, I think it was when you covered Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger before, is
Oh,
they
okay, okay,
like
okay.
basically their one of their sort of key principles were like invest in what you know, basically.
Oh, and
So,
that's in the circle of competency. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
why they don't invest in technology because they don't know anything about technology.
See, I knew it came from Shu. I didn't remember who he got it from, but
Yeah.
that's okay. In the future, I'll just tell people that Shu Zhang, told me this
Yeah. Yeah.
and just
Actually,
pass
well,
off quotes.
yes. Actually, when you talk about like robotics, like since you know more about robotics, you can invest in robotics, right? Actually, that remind me of Klaus Shannon again, because he another one thing I'm interested commenting because he actually is one of the best investors in almost in history, because he invests in a lot of companies that actually do so well that his fortune is just like he actually made a lot of money investing.
Are those
And
like tech companies or?
yes, technology companies. And then his advantage, he can put eggs in a basket because he first of all he knows the founders around his company like Teradyne, and there's other company that is all because he got this connection from his MIT connections, like people from MIT that he know and founding those companies, and he know these people and he know the technology, and he's on the board, so he just put money in there. Well,
Hmm.
so yeah. Hmm. So that's another reason I want to cover like crowd Shannon as well.
You know, sounds like a lot of these rich people knew a lot of rich friends.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. And that's actually
Doesn't hurt.
so that's another way to find a basket is to know more people, like network, get build your network, so know more people, more smart people,
Hmm.
right? So when they start companies and they're starting new company, that's when you get an information advantage, some edge, right? So that way you can put an eggs in a basket and then watch in the basket.
So this
Yep.
made me, do you want to go on a detour? Because this made
Oh
me
yeah,
think of
detour is
something.
always good. Yeah.
So this idea of knowing people is an informational edge is an interesting one because it exists in business. But
Yeah.
it's interesting because I saw this related to city government and basically a change in a law. All right, well,
Hmm.
there was a change in a law where they're like reduced sort of the requirements for like hiring city workers and stuff, and basically trying to make it more open for just, the managers and stuff to just hire who they want, right?
Hmm.
Um, and then there's like I saw this debate in like the public discourse because some people are like, oh, that's going to let them hire the best person from the job. It doesn't matter if they didn't have to work for the city a certain number of years or have some other random qualification. But then other people were like, oh, but they'll just hire people they know. That's like corruption, right? Like it's not giving a fair shot, that's just do this, blah, blah, blah. And this sort of that line of thinking. And I thought it was interesting that people were worried about that because in private business, if you hire someone, and I've seen this even within my own, jobs where someone will help poach. They'll try to poach people from where they came from. They'll say, oh, I want my new job. Well, I knew the good workers at this old place.
Yeah.
So they'll be like, you should approach them and try to hire them as well. It's considered an information advantage, but then at least in some bureaucracies and sort of government positions, that would be considered unethical. And this sort of, it's not networking, it's
merit-based
nepotism or whatever,
nepotism,
So that's just an interesting thing how like this same thing can be viewed in different ways. Completely random tangent, but
I can see the worry. I can see the worry, but again, it's like they're making wrong assumptions, like how that is gonna come out, right? And actually, there's a book called I read a book like hiring book long time ago, just like hiring people. It's about like you have a company, how do you hire people? And one of them actually points that the best way to hire people is to hire people that you already know, like tap into your network, because you already know how they work. You like instead of hiring someone that is someone might look really good during interviews, but when they actually do the job, you had no idea, right? So yeah, cool, good tangent.
Okay, back to Charlie Munger.
All right. So the second one thing I thought is more like so question for you guys. What's your thoughts on cash, like in terms of like investing? Like what's your thoughts on like holding like people like saving a lot of cash basically instead of like investing in the stock market?
I mean, like, I think it's practical to have like a nest egg, like just so you know, like if your car breaks down, you're not just like you have liquid assets to like pay for it. But at the same time, it's probably not ideal to just have cash. Like I mean, if you're not just like living paycheck to paycheck and have savings, it's good to invest it. Just I mean, we've seen with inflation and stuff how cash doesn't have the same value cash used to have. So it's probably good to, invest in gold.
Oh
yeah. I mean, cash isn't an investment, right?
Yeah.
Like I obviously, like Mike said, having some savings is important. You should not be, the sort of the emergency fund, right? You should be able to handle anything that could reasonably be thrown at you suddenly, and then over longer time you can pull out from other stuff, but it's not an investment, right? So it loses value.
Okay, sounds good. So the next one is another, I could say, and it's interesting, a good lesson for me, because I think I always like during the inflation, people always say, okay, like you say earlier, like cash losing their value when the inflation goes up. You should like, I think the conventional wisdom, and is what I heard in the like general news and then people recommendations, oh, you should never have too much cash because cash lose value over time, and you don't like, especially with inflation, right? So you should put money like somewhere else that's like something that can grow, like gold and stuff. But anyway, so this one is more like, I'll say in a nutshell, basically the Charlie Munger is always and Warren Buffett, their strategies, they save a lot of money, cash. They basically just wait for a long time, save all cash. Like they don't put it in anything else. They just have, and so the point is that so when the opportunity is there, they have no they can go all in, put all the eggs in the basket. That's how I think that's the main strategy. And this fall general underneath the philosophy of being the being patient, basically. I would say that's the main takeaway. Just being patient in everything you do. Investing, of course, this can apply to life, career change, and stuff like that too. So, thoughts?
There is a saying that says time in the market beats timing the market, which
Yeah.
is the opposite of what they're suggesting, but they're billionaires, so maybe they're right.
Is what? Say it again.
I said they're billionaires though, so
No, you're saying the time in the market.
time in the market beats timing the market. So time in means
Oh
just
yeah,
putting your
yeah,
money in early and letting like the consistent gains beats trying to like buy in something at the right time
yeah,
is what that says, which timing the market is probably
yeah,
very, it's going to be very volatile and probably
yeah.
depends a lot on how good you are at it. So maybe
And
that's the motto for regular people. And if you're talented at
yeah,
this, you do
yeah.
the other way.
The compound interest, right? Anyway, so and then the quote. Anyway, so the quote. I mean, the quote from Munger is, "My idea of shooting a fish in a barrel is draining the barrel first." How'd you like that quote?
I mean, I guess it's again, it's just sort of like, yeah, it's turning a sure thing into a really sure thing, right? It's like,
Yeah.
so it's,
hmm
yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, if you have something that's like, again, a guarantee,
hmm
because you know it inside and out and have plenty of money to throw at it, then go with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So,
So he's referring to like basically this fleeing of investors is the draining of barrel, right? When there's a crash or something, like stock price drop, which make it easier for
Mm,
Charlie to see the fish, which is our underpriced great business, right? So when there's like a big crash, financial crisis or something like that, right? But
mhm.
here's another quote from him is that the way to get rich is to keep 10 million in your checking account in case of a good deal comes along. And so make sure you have $10 million in your checking account now.
Step one, get $10
So,
million in your checking account.
yeah, and then here's another quote: "Is waiting that helps you as an investor, and a lot of people just can't stand to wait." So yeah, so I think which is very uh I guess common sense in a way. But so not a question for you guys. Like, why is it hard? So we all heard like Warren talk about like, okay, Warren Buffett and Charlie talk about like we should be like fearful when other people are greedy, right, and be greedy when others are fearful. But still, I was kind of wondering like why during a crash, right? Everybody knows that quote, so everybody should be able to practice here, right? So why is it so hard for people to do that, like to be greedy when they are fearful so why people are not buying when the stock like crash, the financial crash that happens, right? What do you think?
uh, I mean, I think, I mean, I don't know how many people necessarily like do fully I feel like it's probably like there's more literacy in the stock market than there used to be. Just
Mm-hmm.
like people are getting more involved, but
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like there's still probably a lot of people who are managed by emotion more than, like having that sort of fiscal
Mm-hmm.
literacy. And so if they hear like bad news about a company they have stock in, like they're like, oh, I don't want it to just go down and lose out on the money I already have. And also like people are aware of like, I think the news focuses on things like Enron or like these, these really big collapses that left people sort of without retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people don't want to get caught up in that. And then you do have the people who are like, it's falling. I don't know how far it's going to fall, and I don't know how long it's going to take to rebound. And I'm old, or, I need money. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's tough because it's one of those hindsight things because you can say, yeah, it rebounded it's going to rebound, so I'll buy it when it's low, but it doesn't always rebound. Sometimes it just keeps going down until it doesn't
Hmm.
exist, right?
Yeah.
So, um,
Gotcha.
it is tough.
Hmm.
It is tough to judge.
Yeah. Sounds good. I guess I guess no, those are good points. I'll say something I want to point out is that when it's they one thing that I at least from based on reading these books kind of have a little bit better understanding like why like kind of in a way crash happened, also why people cannot buy is because they are a lot of a lot of players in the market are big money managers, right? So like retail investors, they don't really matter. They have very small small percentage of the money in the pool, right? Majority of money are fund managers, right? They have money from other rich people, right? And they try to manage this one. Um, and then they cannot they cannot buy it because they are already fully invested. They don't have any more cost anymore. Because
Mm,
their performance are kind of judged by like how they deploy their capitals, and then that's why they don't have money sitting there, right? They cannot be like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger and just have their cash sitting. Um, so that's I at least my understanding, right, a little bit better now is that okay, that's why because they are fully invested, so that's why they cannot buy. So that's why this that's why they're crashing because they need to take money out actually. They do sales stuff too, right? To cover some of the margin call stuff, leverage, or they have too much debt and stuff, right? So they don't have the cash, even though they see the opportunity, and they don't have the cash to buy it, right? Um, which happened to me before, right? Because I was still grad student, I had no money. I still don't have money, so uh, and then so I think that's one reason why they cannot practice it, right? What do you think? At least that's a little bit my understanding currently. Yeah.
it makes sense. I don't know. It's hard to imagine that none of these massive institutions would have like, if this is an effective way to get profit, it's hard to imagine that they wouldn't have started doing that
Yeah.
to some degree. Because I mean,
Yeah.
there are institutions that would buy a building, one block closer,
Mm-hmm.
to the stock exchange so that they get, nanoseconds less time for the electricity to hit their computers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So so they could
Yeah.
trade a few nanoseconds faster. Yeah, these institutions, some of them take it pretty seriously, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I don't know.
there's a book about it actually called Flash Boys. But yeah, I think a lot of institution they just don't at least some people do it, but most of them they are fully invested. That's why they don't have the cash to deploy when the opportunity present themselves, such as like during a crash, basically.
Mm,
And actually, a lot of I think a lot of news, like even Wall Street journals, when they see like Warren Buffett is not buying anything, right? They just have like so much cash. That's one thing they kind of almost like criticize them in a way, right? That consensus, oh, you should always like why you have so much cash sitting around and doing nothing, right? It's not being
mhm.
invested, right? Is I guess conventional wisdom is almost like treating that as a bad thing, right? Most people's consensus, oh, that's a bad thing that you are investing money, right? So yeah. So anyway, so actually on a couple of interest stories that Warren Buffett actually back in the day, like in the 1960s or something, he was doing a lot of investing and then he cannot find anything to buy. He actually just shut down his like hedge fund for five for 5 years, right? He just like returned all the money because I said, oh, I cannot find anything good to buy, which is a good discipline, I think, because a lot of time, uh, I think most people will not be able to do that. So
Like, so was Warren, so one of the things that's on my mind is like a lot of the stuff, that seems to be coming up is sort of focus on what you know
mhm,
and like go heavy into that if it's a sure thing. But like, and we know, and I guess what occurred to me earlier is you mentioned Warren, or rather Charlie Munger working at Warren Buffett's family's place and stuff.
mhm,
So like, what was what was the background of Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, like financially, what was their background? Or did they come from families with money? Did they like, I guess because,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
no. So Munger, his family actually, his parent, I think his grandfather was a big judge. They were judge. No, I think he come as a middle class, probably, uh, not like rich family, right? And then Warren Buffett is basically, yeah, just like grocery store. I mean, his grandfather's grocery store. I don't remember what his dad was doing, but not 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 I would say not rich families, right? Not like Kennedys or Rockefellers, right? So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and Munger basically he was a lawyer, right? And then he just studied investing on the side, and then talking to Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett, he just like business at the beginning, and then he just went to school and then just studied investing. Basically, I think he got into finance very very early, so he just studied there a lot, read a lot. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No. All right. No, so it's good. So yeah, I guess I'm wondering is this what sort of do you need to be in a certain economic bracket for this device to be how applicable this is? Because obviously it's not going to be as applicable for someone who's paycheck to paycheck. It may be applicable for someone who's, it may be, yeah, more applicable to someone who's comfortable but not rich. And then, obviously there's,
yeah,
you know, people who have $10 million in the checking account at all
yeah,
times. So.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I think some of the stuff is, of course, is come. I mean, you I guess you start wherever you have, right? Applying the principles and have it grow as Matt says, it's like it's a time, right? Now you try to apply the compound interest, compounding effect, and try to. I guess in the same time, I guess if you don't know anything, you can still, I guess investing is more like it's not really just about money, right? It's how you invest how you spend your time. It's basically resource allocation. So that's in a way, that's why I kind of want to study investing because it's actually not just a problem about how do you make money. It's actually fundamentally how do you allocate your resources. Like we have limited time, right? What's the best way to spend our time so we get the most return, right? And then that doesn't have to be money in a way, right? So yeah. And I think the best way is to I think Warren said before is invest in yourself, which spending your time try to get better in your own decision making and some of the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean I think some of the stuff that you can apply patience, right? Right now instead of uh right now everybody have a Robinhood right account, right? Instead of just buying everything, you know, patience, just uh instead of buying stuff right now, just saving the cash and then wait when the crash inevitably comes, right? Every once in a while and just pile on the cash in. Like just buy anything like Costco, I don't know, Chipotle. So the good companies, right? So yeah.
No, I
And
mean that's
So does
fair.
that mean you're going to buy a bunch of Boeing stock now, or
no, yeah, actually I was looking at it. I was like, okay, is it a long-term business? Is it a turnaround business? What is a good business fundamentally, right?
mm,
It's kind of attractive because it is because it has no competition, right?
is
But
it Airbus?
yeah,
Isn't there?
it's very few competitions,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Very very
fair.
few. So what do you think actually?
I don't know. That's just that it seems like a good current example of a potential situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you think Boeing's not going to die, right? You're like, there's only two big airplane manufacturers. Boeing's not going to die.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a few doors fall off in the middle of
Mm-hmm.
a flight, and that scared some investors away. No
Uh-huh.
one died.
Mm-hmm.
So you could argue, it's probably going to long-term recover from that.
Mm-hmm.
So now, buying in on it, in theory, that means that'll be just more gains and, 5 years or something when this is all forgotten, no one really cares.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but
I think
that's no guarantee, right?
yeah,
I don't know the airplane manufacturing world, so I don't have that sort of, this isn't my circle of competence or whatever.
exactly. So that's why you don't invest, right? You didn't buy anything because you actually don't know. You don't have an edge, right?
Mhm.
So that's the main thing. Um, so I was thinking about it, but I did not buy any. 'Cause I think it's a good, probably a good short term, but I'll not short term investing, but not a long term one. Um, so that's, and as you say, I don't have like good information on a company, and I don't have time to do deep analysis into it to put all my basket in that, all eggs in that basket, right?
Mhm.
And another thing is like it's a big company already, right? The room to grow, I don't know what's I don't see what in the future is air travel. There's a lot of the competition startups, right? Try to change the industry, right?
Mhm.
Um, like Kitty Hawk, you know Kitty Hawk, right?
I've heard of
Actually,
it.
it's founded by Sebastian Throne. I think you know him. He's very pretty big in the robotics world.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's one of the co-founders. But anyway, he's do a lot of like vertical takeoff, right? A lot of these like vertical takeoff like taxis, and so I think so. So I don't see too much like edge in terms of Boeing. It's a big heavy Goliath type company that I'm not sure how nimble it can adapt to the future changing. Yeah. Also like aerospace industry, airline industry is it's hard to predict where it's going to go in the future, right?
Yeah.
Transportation wise.
To make an argument for Boeing, one, because I'm looking at the stock price right now, it is about half of its like all-time high. So that,
Mm-hmm.
its all-time high was pre-COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
COVID hit airline stuff hard and it looks like it never fully recovered. So there's a theory that, there's potential that, assuming they sort out the issues and then, nothing happens for a while, it should eventually settle back up to more in line with this sort of historic high, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The other thought is vertical takeoff. I would not invest in vertical takeoff company.
Yeah.
That's gonna be niche, right? There's no way that replaces the
Yeah.
traditional, you know, large planes for flying people between cities, right? Like it's a lot more complicated, energy intensive, more
Mm-hmm.
expensive
Mm-hmm.
for very little gain, right? Like most places, it's not that big of a deal to have a mile of asphalt for planes to fly,
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
and down.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there might be some niche like this is going to replace helicopters for rich people in cities,
Mm-hmm.
which for a vertical takeoff plane
Yeah.
instead of a helicopter. But
Yeah.
so it could make money, but I don't think that's a Boeing replacement.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess to the point, yeah, I just feel like it's an industry probably ripe for disruption, and then we don't know what that disruption is,
Mm.
right? If we know, we already probably some people already started it, so I don't know, uh, right? Mm. Anyway, so I guess this is good. What do you call it? Pivot, not pivot. What do you call that? A segue into actually what is a good business and bad business, right? And all right, so just I'm gonna start with Charlie's quote. Um, the difference between a good business and a bad business is that good business throw up like one easy decision after another. A bad business throw up painful decisions time after time. And and there are two kinds of businesses. The first that earn 12% and you can take it out and end a year, basically cash. And the second earns 12%, but all the excess cash must be reinvested into so there's never any cash. It reminds me of the guy who looks at all his equipment and say, "There's all my profit." We hate that kind of business, right? Um, another one is like here he's talking about Costco. In business, we often find that the winning system goes almost ridiculously far in maximizing or minimizing one of few variables like the discount warehouse of Costco. And Costco is obsessed with keeping operations costs to a minimum. It does not provide shopping bags. Customers bring their own bags or use any empty packing box the store supplies, saving Costco 2 to 5 cents each on plastic bags and 10 to 25 cents each on paper ones. Anyway, enough on that one. So, Charlie Munger is definitely a big fan of Costco, right? and I actually love Costco too. I actually be whenever I got opportunity, just I mean I shop there all the time. So anyway, so good business as bad business. What's your thoughts on his opinions on like those thoughts on those good business? Bad
What was the
business.
second one again?
Second one is more like you cannot take the cash out, right? First, you talking about like you cannot every time you make some so the first earns 12% and you can take the cash out at the end of the year. But the second one that you need to reinvest all those money back into your business. Like for example, manufacturing, like you buy
Yeah,
more
yeah.
equipment like to
Which one? So what I didn't quite catch is when you said Munger said, I hate those. I wasn't sure which one he's talking about. Is he talking about the latter, like the one
yeah
that invests all the cash? He hates those businesses.
yes yeah
So
Interesting.
so he hates businesses that just constantly wanna like basically are constantly like earn it, like figure out something that works and then are looking for the next thing, pretty much, right?
yeah. So one of the point that a business that easy business churn out like earns the profit and you can take the profit out. You don't need to reinvest into the business and the business still goes do so well. And one example is like the company called See's Candy. Have you heard of the See's Candy?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you had it before?
I think I've probably some time ago.
You should probably see it somewhere if you are in California, I think. See's Candy basically just as the name implies, a candy company.
Hmm.
Right? So here it says we seize candy. Charlie and Warren finally found a holy grail of investments, a company that has an ever increasing underlying value. And it unlocked the value. All they had to do was to hold the investment as long as possible, right?
Hmm.
And so basically, See's candies. The point is that the pods that holds the chocolate were 50 years old and still did not need any replacing, and the product was the same year after year. The business required very little of capital expenditure, so it was possible to take money out of every year to invest in other business. So Berkshire Hathaway is probably just a conglomerate in many businesses, right? So you can take the money out from one business and use that cash, you hold it, and then you invest it buy other business when there's a buy starting other business when there's a crash, right? So that's one way to that's why I think a lot of the company like focus on cash flows instead of like whatever the dividends or profit or earnings and stuff like that, right? Um let's see. Another point is that is like when we bought Seeds Candy, we did not know the power of good brand. Over time, we just discovered that we could raise price 10% a year, and no one cares. And learning the change, yeah. So anyway, so net, yeah. So net is basically a good business, right? Fundamentally,
Hmm.
Hmm.
yeah.
So
I
that's
guess,
very
yeah.
that's very interesting because I think that like I mean I agree with like that's a good business. It's good if you have that, right? But like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, isn't it like Amazon and many of these big companies now got big by reinvesting everything they earned to grow?
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like that is in line with Charlie's all your eggs in one basket sort of thing. Like if you think this is, the thing, you should want that business to like invest in itself and grow because it's sort of like compounding
Mm-hmm.
what you did, right? Pulling money out is sort of saying this is like done, it's like putting a limit on it and then you're
Mm-hmm.
taking that out to do something else with it, right? That's
Yeah.
diversifying.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just it seems like the opposite of what he was talking about with earlier stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of stuff sound. I mean, a lot of stuff like when you learn from other people, and there's always like some contradictory like things on like they say, but I think I think a lot of times like it's about an interpretation, how you interpret it in a way, right? So,
Mhm.
but yeah, for Amazon case, I think Amazon's almost like growing into a conglomerate in a way, right? He's taking the money out, but he's investing in other business, right? Like try to either start a new line of business like AWS, right? It's completely different from like what Amazon was doing before, right? Kind of expanding
That's
in a
fair.
way. So it's not really so to almost start a new business or investing in other business, right? But I can see like as you say, like multiple like you want to grow that business in a way like put all your eggs in one basket, just stick with that one business, right? So I think that's always depends on what kind of business that is. So I think this is just an example of good business that he's talking about. Like I think there's a probably multiple ways to define what kind of as a good business is, but this is one way that he is talking about, I think, which is pretty easy for people to understand. It's just candy store basically, right? You need a lot, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
And then one thing that he talked about like bad business. I'm not sure Boeing would consider a good business, but airline definitely a bad business. Because because they are involved in intensely competitive industries, right? That beat each other up over price, which bring their profit margins down, kills net cash flow, and diminish their chance of long-term survivability, right? I think actually only company that has ever been profitable in airline is actually Southwest for a long time, and then other company are really not really profitable. But it's just so you don't want so bad business are business that has our competition, right? You don't want usually, uh, and one way to avoid that is to have a good product quality. Like See's Candy, it's a brand name, right? You trust it, and actually that made me think about Chipotle recently because I just saw a brief headline. So Chipotle had been like raising money, and actually people are like gym rats. And then the article says I think like gym rats and millennials keep still buying even though they keep raising price, which
Uh-huh.
kind of interesting. I actually looked at like Chipotle like a while ago, long time ago, which is like when they were like $300. I think damn, Chipotle $300. But then today I look at it again, it's 2000 something dollars.
You
Oh
missed
wow.
out.
I missed out on it, even though I was a fan. I was keeping eating it because I first of all that's an important thing. Like this is a good point to actually Charlie Munger's point of good business. First of all, the investment like expenditure is probably stay pretty stable, right? And they have a good brand, right? Quality, like I can trust it when I go there to eat, right? So
Hasn't Chipotle had multiple cases of like food
yeah,
poisoning?
salmonella stuff. Yeah, salmonella, but
But not enough to turn people off the brand.
well, I think that is understandable. Also, is also the way they handle it, I guess, right? I'm not sure. I think they handled it pretty well. And salmonella is like it's kind of when you deal with food, right? When something like that happens, it's almost like inevitable in a way. But they control it pretty well, and it doesn't have happen like every year or frequently enough.
Uh,
And is just I think is but also the brand, right? Chipotle in the brand, you just have people have certain perception of it, right? Right. So that's why when you say, oh, why I find it interesting, it raise price, but still people still buy it because people still doesn't really care because they know quality, they know brand. So that is a definition of like good product and good business.
you know, I agree, but it does seem kind of funny that you just talked about airlines being like fiercely competitive, and it's like as opposed to fast food and candy, things
Yeah.
where there's not that many
Yeah.
companies selling, but
Uh-huh.
but maybe the brand's the difference.
Yeah.
They
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
they don't have to worry about strict competition if they have loyal customers, right?
yeah. Yeah. Like See's Candy have been around for I think almost 100 years now. I mean, quite a long time, and they have good quality brand, right? Another business they like the Coca-Cola actually, even though sugar thing, but still Coke is like pretty easy. Like ingrained in people's mind, right?
Hmm.
When you go, drink some soda, what's you gonna drink? Coca-Cola is a Pepsi. Most people are gonna go with Coke.
Hmm.
Right. Even you raise some price, people are still gonna buy it. So yeah.
I was curious because when you said Coke, I'm like, yeah, of course Coke's a good company, but like,
It's not good thing.
it's been big for decades, right?
Yeah,
Like it's
exactly.
not really growing. But then I looked and like their peak stock in like 2019 was around like 360 something, and now it's like 817.
Yeah.
And that was just a few years ago. So
Yeah.
I'm surprised at that. But hey.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. So that's why they bought into Coke a long time ago, right? But however,
Yeah.
Costco is Charlie's favorite business. So Costco is good. I like Costco. I like their business too. Also, when you shop there, actually, the people work there are pretty happy. So that's how you know it's good, right?
Should I invest in Chick-fil-A?
I'm not sure. It might be too late. The shit might be sale.
They're not public. They're not public.
Chipotle is not public. Chipotle is public.
Chick-fil-A.
Oh, Chick-fil-A. Oh no, Chick-fil-A definitely. I want to invest Chick-fil-A, but they are not public. Another company actually is good. It's a Panda Express. They are doing pretty good too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's popping out everywhere. One thing actually I was thinking about, like question is like why Panda Express got so big, right? Because we have been those kind of restaurant like we're everywhere. We eat in like pig grill during grad school, right, every day almost. It's similar type of restaurant, right? But somehow just this person like founder of Panda Express, they were able to make it big, right?
That's interesting because my circle, American Chinese food is within my circle of expertise because I eat it far too often. And Panda
Yes.
Express is pretty mediocre. I feel like most places have like some random, guy's personal Chinese restaurant like Pacific Grill, that does it better.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe the Panda Express appeals to a certain certain chunk of Americans that aren't as comfortable exploring different things. They want something even more Americanized, more comfortable.
Well, there's been like a Panda Express equivalent in every mall for, our entire lives. So, yeah, I don't know what separates Panda Express.
Exactly.
Maybe it's the efficiency. Like maybe they're just like more efficient with like making sure, like like they can stock the food. Like they're like the trade-off between the food quality and the prices at which they stock it is like better than other places.
Yep. All
Okay.
that.
I could be biased because most of the time I think I've had it have been in airports. Like I don't get it.
Yeah.
So because I'm like they've never impressed me that much on anything, but maybe an airport might not be the right judge. Like maybe I have to try more Panda Expresses out in the wild, see if they do better.
So yeah, the reason that I'm wondering about, I mean, those questions popping out in my mind is because number one, I've been a frequent Panda Express, and then also, I walk in the store, the people who work there where the management is really good, right? It's not like sloppy. And another thing is that you try kind of, in my mind, I trust the quality, like consistency, quality is good. I can trust that to an extent of how Chinese food can be quite good quality is actually pretty good. Even though sometimes the taste might not be there, but at least there any ingredients you can see in there, like the food quality, right? I'm not talking about tasty. I'm talking about like but it's still it's there. And also they actually pay their people quite well. And they were looking for like managers, like store managers, like over 100K, right? 110K, like so they have good management. I like the system, the management, and also everything they do. I think it's similar to like Chick-fil-A, right? Good management, which I think at least for all these big chains is fundamentally what that is. And then the question that popped in your mind, because I was listening to a lot of founders, and then they were talking about founders and people starting business. I was wondering, okay, then how Panda Express got so big? Because how come other people don't go into it? Because my family have been working in like Chinese restaurant industry for many years, and there's a lot of Chinese immigrants that came here start businesses and they start their own restaurants. How come there's so many opportunities, so many opportunity for other people to do it too, but how come other people never started or never think that big? That how come these founders like Panda Express, they were 25 years ago, and they just a small, similarly a store, small, like one restaurant in Los Angeles, right? And then they make it so big nationwide. So sometimes it made me wonder, like, what do these people have, right? That make them to take that leap, the leap that from a small business and then grow into a big business, right? So I don't know, but it's just something made me wonder. Like, sometimes it does take. So then that's why maybe sometimes it's good to like read the biography of people, like how they do how they make things happen in a way, right? So yeah. Anyway, so cool.
All right. You got any final Charlie Munger quotes or sections you want to bring up?
I have another question. Yeah, actually, I have quite a few. But one thing is, I might skip some of these. The other one, when is technology going to help her business? That is the question. So he was asking, his quote is, "A great lesson in microeconomics is discriminate between when technology is going to help you and when it's going to kill you." So I think the first question he said we should ask is that will the new technology be a threat to existing business model, or will the new technology enhance the business? I think I want to bring this up because recently is like ChatGPT, right? Like AI technology, right? I think it's like how is it gonna help? How is it gonna disrupt a lot of businesses? And also and this is also related to like reinvesting your money back into the business, right? So like how is that technology going to help you grow your business? Like robotic technology, right? Should you adopt robotic technology, or do you think that is actually a black hole and it's just gonna not helping your business, just like stay up with competition, right? I think that's a lot of I don't know. I'm actually not sure how I asking this question, but anyway. So
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess when I first think about it, yeah, as you say, sort of chat GPT is like, a big thing. And like with respect to like fast food, there was like the advancement of kiosks when the minimum wage argument like was center stage.
mhm,
Like, and I actually do like his quote, like, will it hurt the business? Or like, basing like, will the technology be adopted based on whether it fits with the business model or not? Because in the case of fast food, like for example, like a lot of McDonald's now have few
mhm,
people like or
yeah,
need fewer people because they have like kiosks, where you order and stuff like that. And I feel like when you think of fast food, like it's in the name, like
mm,
you're like people are going there to get food as quickly, as efficiently as possible. Like they're not expecting like phenomenal food. They're like just looking for something that's fast
quick,
and
yeah,
easy and
mhm,
relatively cheap. So, so I think it like makes sense for a place like that to invest in all the technology because they're like the people who are going there aren't necessarily looking for like a human interaction, aren't necessarily
mhm,
looking to like hang at all. It's just about efficiency and quick. Whereas like a restaurant, like I don't know that anything or even like the case of like a bartender, right? Like you could
mm,
have a robotic bartender, but like you could have something that like automates the mixing of drinks and like probably does it faster than a human could and stuff like that. But in that setting, I think people are looking, sort of looking for human interaction and companionship at some level, or oftentimes they like go to
mhm,
talk to the bartender. So, that may change the adoption of the technology there. And so, like similarly with ChatGPT, like ChatGPT can write your emails for your administrative assistant or whatever, but like it's not necessarily going to organize calendars, like do meeting notes as well as the person, like those types
Mhm.
of things. So it like may be part of the job, but it's not like the whole job. And to carve out the person there is a little bit harder because yeah, I guess the intended use of the person there is, more than just like the emails and those types
Mm.
of things. So yeah. So that was my thinking is it's like not a bad quote because it's like, is the technology in service of the business or is the technology just like, are you trying to force the technology to do everything that that it may not be designed for yet?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any thoughts?
I think a different way, kind of on a different line of thinking, is I was thinking about whether technology makes the barrier to entry higher or lower. Because depending
Mm.
on the industry and the new technology, it can go either way, right? So like chip manufacturing, right?
Yeah.
It keeps advancing. The barrier to entry just keeps growing. It's ridiculously high because
Yeah.
like the level of technology and special equipment and special expertise is like insane, right? And every technological step pretty much makes it higher. So, it's almost unfathomable to think of how like a brand new chip manufacturer could come about. It would be a massive investment. But then something like Uber, right? It's not really a technology, but just like an app, right? But an app made it the barrier to entry for people driving others around for money super low, right?
Yeah.
Um, I guess what maybe you could say there's things like smartphones and some of that things made that sort of thing viable, right? And that changed the nature of taxis. It allowed a competitor break in because the new technology made things easier to do, right? So, um, you know, I think if you have a business, or normally you think of, oh, a technology that makes your business easier, that's a good thing, right? Because your job's easier. But if you're established, that's maybe not what you want because you don't want competitors to have an easy
Yeah.
time, and you might already have the means to sort of invest in new things that improve your business, but also make it more difficult for people to match you, right? So,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
assuming your business has like a market, right?
Hmm.
Like how this affects your competition and potential competition is a big factor for,
Yeah.
whether what the technology is going to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people like ChatGPT, like Google, right? It's search, but if you have ChatGPT, it's a new paradigm shift, right? It's almost just like you just giving it.
It
I
is
think a lot of people,
basically a
why
good,
search? You
like a
can just
super
you
Google.
just you
Yeah.
just give an answer, right? That's what
Yeah.
people fundamentally what they want, right? They don't want to go through the 10 links. They just have an answer. And I guess another thing is like uh for me actually you brought up like I think you talk about chips, but anyway, so I'm gonna talk about like chips like TSMC, like Taiwan Semiconductor. These very hard business, right? These are business actually they need to keep reinvesting their money back in there to develop new technology to like do the new low level like transistor, right? Stuff like that. So net is something actually I'm just keep like debating whether net's a good business or not, right? I know it's kind of monopoly in a way, right? It's only thing like they can do, and they invest in their technology so they can keep up the competition. They can still be the leader, but fundamentally, is it a good business, right? Because if they have to reinvest and keep going, eventually they're gonna have to. They might stall, right? If they don't stop doing that, they're gonna stall and then they're gonna fall behind, right? So right? Instead of like
True.
Chipotle, you can just like keep going. Even if you make some stupid decision or if you don't invest, then you can probably survive. Whereas like TMC, these technology companies, then if you don't invest, put the money back into investment, then you're probably gonna fail. Uh, that's another reason why Warren Buffett, they don't invest in technology because it changes so fast, right? It's hard to see in the future.
Hmm.
Anyway, so let me go to the next quote is, it's remarkable how long-term advantage people like us have gotten by trying to be consistently not stupid instead of trying to be very intelligent. There must be some wisdom in the folk saying, it's the strong swimmers who drown, right? And strong swimmers are those who swim way out and potentially get themselves in trouble. Weaker swimmers stay close to shore where it's safe. Yeah, in an investing game, it's the high IQ math quant types who use the super complicated trading models who get themselves into trouble. I think we might have talked about this before, but another thing is repetitive is the key to learning. So I'm just repeating it. Basically saying that try not to be stupid first instead, and then maybe try to be smart. So don't try to be too smart, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, yeah, more and more I sort of see that's the way. Like, and I think maybe that's true in the market because it seems to be true everywhere in the world.
Hmm.
Like, people don't trust complicated. Like, complicated obviously has like a lot of chances to have like weird issues with it that you don't understand. So people really like to build from
Mm.
like very dumb first, like most basic thing, like very slowly up.
Hmm.
So, which I think, like, I mean, it can be good, but there's some times where it's like so gradual that it like feels like it feels like it's maybe overkill. But
Yeah. All right. Do you guys know what's the problem with smart people?
problem with smart people.
Yeah.
Is that they overthink things?
No, they know they're smart. That's the problem.
Mm.
Anyway, that's something I was thinking about.
Okay.
Yeah. No. No, I mean a lot of engineering you work with sometimes like, oh, okay. I feel like sometimes they just, they know they're smart, so they kind of hard to convince them with otherwise that like to second like maybe rethink their design choices, right? So
Mm.
so anyway, that's a tangent. Anyway, so next thing I'm gonna go into actually is about reading.
All right,
I
hold on.
just yeah.
I'm just gonna tell you, this is your last one. All
Why?
right, because Mike's got a party to go to.
Do you?
Yeah, well, I need to be there in like an hour, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So not an hour. All right, I'm gonna go through some of these very quick. So
Okay,
um
okay.
so reading the one I'm reading basically just my own confirmation bias. So I'm just gonna reading a lot about reading. So in my whole life, I have known no wise people who did not read all the time. None, zero. You'll be amazed on how much Warren reads and how much I read. And what to read? One is actually better off reading 100 business biographies than 100 books on investing. Because if we learn the history of 100 different business models, we learn when business had tough time and how they got through them, right? And then we also learn what made them great or not so great. So yeah. So yeah. So anyway, that's just basically uh a way I confirm my own bias on reading, right? I know you guys don't read that much, so I guess it's my attempt to try to get you guys to read more.
No, I think that's a fair point, right? Because if you actually read 100 biographies, think of how much you know, life lessons you pick up that you
Hmm.
wouldn't have time to have learned on your own.
Yeah.
It's just, it's valuable.
Yeah. All right. So next one is career wise. The three rules of career. One is don't sell anything that you will not buy yourself. Don't work for anyone you don't respect or admire. And then work only with people that you enjoy. Anyway, uh, sound advice there. Um, so next one, I actually gonna go into some of the economy stuff, right? In the war economy. So his quote is capitalism without failure is like religion without hell, which I like, but what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, so hell, I mean, I guess it depends on your view of religion. Like, I mean, like hell, I guess a cynic might say is just, basically to scare you into the church.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I guess failure, it doesn't necessarily like scare you into, like, I guess it scares you into like working hard or what, but like, and like necessitate, well, I
I
mean, I
think I
guess I
think
see it.
I
So,
think you're
like,
overthinking it.
I mean, I guess it necessitates your failure in capitalism, like necessitates that you work because
Yeah.
without work you're going to be poor, and
Yeah.
capitalism being poor is bad.
Yeah,
But
I think
yeah.
yeah. I think he's basically, he's just saying that I think the capitalism basically failure is a feature, right? It's part of it. And
Mhm.
his point actually is basically going to ban banking deregulation. Have you heard about the Glass-Steagall something act?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
go ahead.
people blame the '08 recession, housing
Yeah.
recession on. I don't
Mm.
know the details. I don't remember what the details of what it actually did are.
Oh, okay. So actually, I think Charlie have a very strong opinion on that one. So that's why he says capitalism without failure, like bank failures, right? So I think so he say actually repealing Glass-Steagall was, I think it's how you pronounce it anyway, was one of the dumbest things Congress had ever done. So basically, it describes I think it's the legislation describes four provisions of the United States Banking Act of 1933, separating commercial and investment banking. So that means like since it's repealed, like you intermingle commercial banking and investment banking. So that means like all the deposits that you put in Bank of America, Wells Fargo, these that you thought that is safe, like commercial banking, they
Mhm.
are actually using this money to do a lot of investing, like lending out to mortgage, like speculation and stuff like that, right? So that's how they got into trouble, right? That's why I think as you point out, like 2008 was blamed because of that, right? Yeah, that's his point, right? Because on his bank executive, right, when they it's human incentives, right? They always like to gamble and then they make money, right? They when they do all this kind of investing stuff, right? And they get bonus if succeed, and when they fail, there's no consequence basically, right? So then we end up holding the bag. Do you have any more thoughts on a regulation, like government intervention stuff? So I guess the main fundamental principle is like I think I'll say like regulation is bad, right? But here, regulation is actually, at least in Charlie's opinion, is it's a must. Right? I think Matt, you are pretty pro deregulation, right? So
I am. I'm not. So I think if you just come out and say we got to regulate everything or no regulations on either side, you're
hmm
dumb. This is kind of like a middle ground area. Like
hmm
regulations are a big it depends question, right? Because there
hmm
are lots of regulations that have been very important, and then there's also regulations that do more harm than good, and then there's regulations that used to be useful, but times changed and now they're no longer helpful. It's just there's no clear. I don't like it. I don't think it's something that you can just have a clear general answer. I think it's kind of one of those things where you have to like dig into the details. Does this regulation in this context, what is it doing? Um,
hmm
so
Okay, sounds good. Um, okay, last couple of points. Generally, he say this one's for uh inflation. He said, I think democracies are prone to inflation because politicians will naturally spend. They have the power to print money and will use money to get votes. And inflation really raising the price of both commodity and assets. And actually, I mean, inflation actually is not really bad for everybody. So it's good. It's a friend for people like who owns asset, but like house and stuff. But it's bad for enemy for people who own cash or bonds, right?
mm,
Um, which kind of and then actually it's good for like a bank. Inflation is good for banks and insurance companies, right? Because one of the things that he said here says both the bank and insurance companies saw inflation cause 1,000% rise in business, but neither institution had to add any more employees or increase the size of its operation. right? Now you know why Charlie and Warren are so big on insurance companies and banks. And they actually bought into Geico is one of the biggest company, and also they bought into Wells Fargo, right? So not only are they in a perfect hedge against inflation, they actually benefit from when the fear is gone. So this kind of almost like vicious cycle to what we were talking about earlier, right? So inflation is good for the banks. However, bank in certain ways have no kind of has some certain levers to cause inflation too, in certain ways. If they keep investing stuff, I don't know. So that's an incentive for the banks to actually to cause inflation. So I feel like it's kind of dangerous.
I feel like to jump in now,
Yeah.
there's one of the quotes you said was democracies are prone to inflation because politicians spend,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't think's untrue, but I feel like it's one of those cases where it's kind of missing something important, which is that
Mm-hmm.
we want inflation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we, you know, we s- most modern countries aim for 2% inflation, right? Like that's
Mm-hmm.
like the amount they want,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a reason for that, um, because as deflation pretty much is very bad. So
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of inflation has this nice buffer. It incentivizes people to invest instead of holding cash,
Mm-hmm.
and that's generally good for the economy. So you want that. So I mean, politicians do spend, and that does contribute, but it's not like an accidental thing that the government causes inflation. It is the policy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So okay. So I guess okay. Okay, good. I actually don't know that like that's what like countries are usually should aim for, like 2% inflation every year.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
like considered the like broadly the like standard. And for before COVID, for a while under we had less than that for a
Mm-hmm.
while. And that's one of the reasons our interest rates were so low. It's because they were trying to boost it, right? Interest
Mm-hmm.
rates are a knob the Fed can adjust to sort of influence inflation.
Mm-hmm.
So now that inflation's high, interest rates are kicked up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's one of the ways they helped trying to bring it down.
So why are people complaining about inflation now?
Why are people complaining about inflation?
Yeah.
Because it's high. I mean, it has been high. It peaked really high in COVID, and then it's come
Uh-huh.
down a good bit, but it
Uh-huh.
hasn't come down to 2% still. So it's still
Mm-hmm.
higher than like our goal. And also, coming off of a really high spike with the COVID,
Yeah.
people don't have an appetite for it. Plus, I think in general, a lot of regular people don't really um, like it anyway. Like even
Mm-hmm.
if it was 2%, they'd be annoyed just because regular people, you know, they don't want the price they pay for stuff to go up.
Mm.
I mean, even though a lot of people have more debt than cash, which makes inflation good for them, but that's a side that's a side note.
Mm. Wait, you say people have more debt than cash, and
Yeah.
inflation is good for people who are having debt?
Yeah. Well,
Why?
because if everything inflates, the same amount of debt becomes worth less, right? Like the same amount of money in
Mm.
your savings account becomes worth less. So if you have a bunch of money in your account, that hurts. But if you have a debt
Mm-hmm.
that that's essentially the value of the debt is inflated away, or it's a weird way to phrase it. I don't know. But like, if the dollar's worth less, that means your debt's worth less.
And that's why fundamentally why banking crisis happens because people like just taking out too much debt and inflation like help them in a way. I don't know.
Maybe, maybe.
Leverage, right? Too much leverage. I don't know. It's out of my expertise. That's
It's
why
a
we're studying.
complicated thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Sounds good. I guess that's all I have.
So I got a thought experiment for you, Shu.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly don't disagree that Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger were smart guys and
Mm-hmm.
they played their cards right.
Mm-hmm.
But I do wonder if they were born 60 years later,
Mm-hmm.
would they have been able to do the same thing? Or did they like strike opportunities when they're early and now, sort of in a situation now where it'd be much harder to repeat what they've done, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Do you think they were just ahead of the curve, or do you think they were different in a way that they could kind of do it again if they had to, right?
Yeah. I think one of the point, that's why we try studying them, right? So we can kind of emulate fundamental when they do differently, right? So I would say, yeah, I would say they should be able to, because fundamentally what they did is that being patient, right? I think actually Munger have said that his success not because he's success because of his brain, actually because of his temperament. And a lot of investing is about temperament, right? A patient is waiting, right? So a lot of time people just don't have the patience to wait, which is, speaking for myself too, like a lot of time we take actions, right? And sometimes it's not just about money, could be time or a career, job, and other stuff that you're being just like, you are maybe angry of other people's success and you want, okay, I need to do something. And then sometimes maybe it's good to wait. And then yeah. And then also his other stuff, like his principle is being a learning machine, right? Which can be applied to anything, right? If you and his ability actually to absorb, to learn, and then to learn from his mistakes, right? And then by reading a lot so much, right? You learn his history lesson, so you can apply to other stuff. So that's why I think, yeah, it's these kind of fundamental lessons that stick with what you know, right? Principles he has. I think these that can be applied to across. It doesn't matter what kind of like what time you are born, right? These all like good advice that you can apply. Like circle of competency and some other stuff we talk about basically. And that's my thinking. And that's my opinion on that one. Yeah. Any fundamental, that's what we try. Any what I'm trying to do right now is to study these and hopefully apply to current situations, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm. What do you think? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense. It's just,
Hmm.
and I mean, I think it's sort of, yeah, I don't know if it's a question. It's not like there is an absolute answer, right? No one really knows.
Hmm.
But I think
Yeah.
that's a
I mean,
valid
and
thought.
yeah.
Like the important qualities that they have, should, haven't. It's not like the advantage of those qualities hasn't changed, is what you're saying, right? Like
Yeah.
if they did the same thing, the same
Hmm.
outcome would happen.
Yeah. And some lessons is pretty what do you call that? Fundamental, like like how to make good decisions. I'm fundamentally that's what it is. How to make learning how to make good decision and learning how to learn. I think those are the two fundamental things that actually personally I'm trying to do and try to kind of hopefully be better and right. I believe you can do those both. You can, doesn't matter where you are, what you do, you're gonna be successful.
Mhm.
I'm just slowing and doing both, but slower than other people. But
Slow and
at least
steady
I'm.
wins the race.
Yeah.
That's what they say. Hey,
Anyway,
you're
okay. So
patient at doing it, right? You're not slow, you're patient about it.
yes, but sometimes there's to a certain point you need to start doing stuff, doing shit, instead of just being a patient, just waiting, right? There's
Fair
another
enough.
trade-off too, right? You can't just be patient all the time. It's just and patient. I think patient doesn't mean waiting, right? It's like you still doing something in the end. Like you just, oh yeah. I would say like be patient with results, but impatient with actions maybe. But there's also danger in that, like the way you act, right? So I would say maybe just like uh be patient with result, but impatient with learning. That's probably better. Or preparation. So yeah, that's I think I that's something that I mean revise the quote, right? So to
So you'll have it fully formulated next time.
yeah. All right. So um, anything else? If not, I'm gonna go to end the outro quote.
Okay.
So the outro quote today is if you want a new idea, read an old book.